Hello everyone. Good morning all. Hope my screen is visible. So let's begin. So in the last session, so what did we discuss? So so we discussed how Vedas exist before being written down, right? So before being written down, how they existed. So they existed as cosmic sounds, right? That's what we uh, found out. Now, how they came to be known to the great sages. So, the great sages, during their meditation, they were able to tap into these cosmic sounds, and hence we know that how the great sages came to know about the Vedas. So, what else we learned from the last session? How the Vedas were initially transmitted to humankind. So, they were transmitted orally, right? It was all through oral tradition that the Vedas were transmitted. So later, how were they compiled? So they were written down or compiled by Vedavasa only during the end of, you say, Dwapar Yuga or starting of the Kali Yuga. So how Vedas are without a beginning also we discussed, because Vedas are the breath of Paramatma. So that's the reason, since Paramatma is Anadi or without a beginning, owing or being his breath, the Vedas are also without a beginning. Next, we learned how Vedas are not a work of a man. So how Vedas are a Purishaya. That also we discussed, because the knowledge is not coming from any human, it is coming from the Paramatma or God itself. That's why this knowledge is not created by man. So this is what we learned in the last session. So in the last session also I provided few points for your introspection, right? So for example, do we know all of the Vedas? So it's for introspection. Then did Paramatma create the Vedas? That was the question. Did sages create the Vedas? Do Vedas exist independent of Paramatma? To whom the knowledge of Vedas was first revealed to, and what did he do with that knowledge? So this was for introspection. So in this session, what we will do, we will look into each of these questions and we will try to know the answers for it. So the first question we have is, do we know all of the Vedas? So we know that Vedas are instructions of Paramatma, right? We know Vedas exists as Nishvashitam, the breath of Paramatma. We know thus Vedas are eternal, as they are the very breath or the exhalation of Paramatma itself. Thus, being eternal, Vedas become limitless, right? So it does not have any beginning. So how can you predict its end, right? So such profound are the Vedas that they are limitless. So you cannot say that, okay, Vedas can be compiled into only so many things. They are unlimited. So the limitless, when you say limitless, it means that Vedas are unlimited. So now understand, how can we say that we know all of the limitlessness? If Vedas are were limited, we can have said that there is a few of the Vedas that we know and few are left. But how can we know an entity fully which is eternal? So how can we know an entity which is like limitless? We cannot, right? Thus, all of the Vedas are not known to us. So that is the answer. So we do not know all of the Vedas. So we know only few of, like only a handful of Vedas you can assume. Now also consider, it is because of the rishis or saints that we know the Vedas, right? So the rishis and saints during their meditation, they tapped into these sounds and they got us this information. So can we say that all of the eternal existing Vedas were heard by the saints? So just question. So do the saints, like when they tapped into meditation, did they know everything that is available, yeah, of the Vedas? No, right? It's not possible because it is limitless. So there also we come to know that whatever information is tapped is not everything. There is so much more to that, right? So understand this, Paramatma breathes through eternity, right? How can we say that or claim that we know all of them or we know all of him, right? We are beings who have limited life on this planet, right? We have access to only the Vedas through our meditation only. So we can never really say that we know all of them. So by our nature as human, we are limited in that way also. Thus, all of the Vedas are known, not known to us. This we have to understand. Only a portion of the Vedas were heard by the sages, and only a handful is known to us. So that is what we have to understand. So the next question was, did Paramatma create the Vedas, right? So we know that Vedas are exhalation are the breath of Paramatma. So is it right to say that Paramatma created the Vedas? See, think about it. So do we create our own breath? Don't you agree that we exist with our breath? And as soon as there is no breath, we cease to exist, right? So we exist with our breath. We do not create breath separately, right? So thus, Paramatma also exists with his breath, right? Which are the Vedas, right? And he does not create the Vedas. It is he himself, right? So he himself are the Vedas, you can say, because he exists with the Vedas. He exists with his breath, Nishvashitam, so he exists with it. So that's why we cannot say that Paramatma has created the Vedas, right? For this very reason, also we say that uh, both Paramatma and Vedas are inseparable from each other. Also, so they are essentially the one because being the breath of Paramatma, Vedas are inseparable from the Paramatma, right? So the next question: did sages create the Vedas? Right. So we know that Paramatma did not create the Vedas owing to his own breath, his own, it is his own breath, so we cannot say that. So he exists with his breath. But is it right to say that the sages created the Vedas? See, understand this. Sages heard the Vedas during their meditation, and hence sages are called as mantra drishtas. That means the seers of the mantras, the seers of the Vedas. The seers means the one who has seen the Vedas, right? So the sages are called only the mantra drishtas. They are not called as the mantra kartas of Vedas. So when we say kartas of Vedas, it means that the one who has created the Vedas. So here we have to understand that only the sages have heard the Vedas and hence they are called as mantra drishtas. So if we take one example, so Sir Isaac Newton, right? So we say that Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity. We don't say that Sir Isaac Newton created or invented gravity. Why is that? Because gravity was already existing. So it is only Newton who found it and you shared the equation with us, right? Similarly, before the rishis or sages discovered the Vedas, it was already existing in space and tapping to their sounds. So they were able to find or discover the Veda. So that's the reason the sages are called as mantra drishtas and not as the mantra kartas, right? Okay, there can arise one doubt also, right? So we know that Vedas exist as sound in space, and now we are saying that Vedas are are seen by the sages. So which one is correct? To say that sages have seen them or sages have heard them. So here we have to understand is that it doesn't matter whether if we have seen or we have heard. The point is that we have to understand that the sages cognized these mantras during their meditation. So it is like during their such a state of what you say dhyana or meditation, they cognize these mantras or the Vedas, right? So that is what we have to understand. So when we say that if sages created the Vedas, so we have to say that no, they are only the mantra drishtas and not the creator of the Vedas. They are not the mantra kartas. That's what we have to understand. Next, do Vedas exist independent of Paramatma? So I already explained in this video itself. So both Vedas and Paramatma are inseparable from each other. Why? Because Vedas are the Nishvashitam or the breath of Paramatma itself. So we cannot say that both Paramatma and Vedas are independent of each other, right? So that we cannot say. Now the next thing is to whom the knowledge of the Vedas are first revealed to, right? So right now we discussed that it was revealed to the sages, right? How it was revealed to them by their say, meditations, right? So we have to understand that Vedas exist as sound, right, in space. So we know sages tapped into these sounds also. So does that mean that the sages are the one who first heard the Vedas? So understand this. It is the Lord Brahma, the creator, right? So he's the one, or the He's the one who was first revealed about the Vedas, right? So it is Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, to whom the knowledge of the Vedas were first revealed to, right? And how was this knowledge revealed to Lord Brahma? Is it by meditation? Did Lord Brahma like sit on meditation and discover? So let's find out. So it is said that when Paramatma, he just willed to create the universe. When he just said that, let me create the universe, then the Vedas were instantly revealed to Brahma, right? It is said that Paramatma gave it through his heart. So it is said that Paramatma made the Vedas available to Brahma just through his will, just through his heart. He was able to communicate the information to Brahma about the Vedas, right? So that is how we say that it is the Lord Brahma, or the creator, who had the first access to the Vedas. Then the next question is, what did Lord Brahma do with the knowledge of the Vedas, right? So he got the Vedas from the Paramatma. Now, what did he do? That is our next question. So it is known that through these Veda mantras, Lord Brahma created the universe. So understand this, how powerful and profound are the Vedas. It is by chanting these Veda mantras that Brahma was able to create this universe. That is, by reciting specific mantras from the Vedas, Lord Brahma was able to create this universe. Thus, creation itself is a product of reciting the Veda mantras. So, that is what we have to understand. So, Vedas are first known to whom? To Lord Brahma. And what did Lord Brahma do with it? He created the universe. Yeah, he created the universe with it, right? So, lastly, let's discuss why Vedas are called as shruti and not smriti. So there are two types of sacred texts we have to understand. One is known as shruti and other is known as smriti. Okay. So shruti means one which is heard and smriti means one which is remembered, right? So what do you think about the Vedas? Are the Vedas shruti text or smriti text, right? So this we already know, right? Since Vedas are heard, right? So they come under the Shruti texts. They do not come under the Smriti texts. So Smriti texts are those which are remembered, but Vedas are not from the remembered. What you say? It's not coming as a product of your memory. It is just coming as a product from what you have heard. So Vedas come under the Shruti. So we call Vedas as the Shruti texts. So that we have to understand. Right? So so far we have discussed about the knowledge concerning the Vedas, right? With this, I would like to conclude the introduction to the Vedas. So I had discussed the various aspects of Vedas, right? So what are Vedas? What do they contain? How they exist in space? How they came to know to the humankind? And couple of its properties, like couple of you can say properties or attributes. You can say how it is a Purushaya, how it is Anadi, what is Nishvashitam. So we discussed all the areas which are concerning to the Vedas. So I hope that we are able to establish a good base, right, foundation for understanding the Vedas. I would also recommend going through the past 2 3 sessions to understand what Vedas are, so that you have a good base, right? Now I hope we got some idea on the we got some idea on the Vedas. But you understand that our focus is on the Vedanta, actually, right? So we have to understand like what do Vedanta contain and what is that study about. So those things also we have to consider, right? So just recap, you can say I have listed all the questions that we had discussed in these 3 sessions, right? So we came to know what are Vedas, we came to know what do they contain, what are Upanishads, what do they contain. So what is the difference between the three? Then, how Vedas came to be known to the great sages, how were they initially transmitted to humankind, how were they compiled, in which time period, who compiled them, right? How are they compiled, how are they classified? So, how Vedas are without a beginning, right? We understood how Vedas are not the work of a man, that we understood. Then today we saw how Vedas, like, do we know all the Vedas was the question, so that we understood. We learned that how Paramatma is not the creator of the Vedas. We learned how the sages are not the creator of the Vedas. So we learned that how Vedas and Paramatma do not exist separately, right? They are not independent of each other. That we discussed. So we discussed who is the creator. I mean, who to whom the knowledge of the Vedas was first revealed to, and what did he do with it? So it's Lord Brahma, and what he did. He created the universe. We understood. We understood how the rishis are mantra drishtas and not mantra kartas. We also discussed how Vedas are shruti and not smriti text, right? So all these things we have understood concerning the Vedas, correct? So next, next we have to shift our focus to Vedanta, right? So Vedanta and Vedas we had discussed, right? So Vedanta is the section of the Vedas which are appearing at the end sections of the Vedas. So Vedanta deals with the spiritual knowledge concerning our existence, our true nature, our self, right? About creation and such things the Vedanta contains. Now we know what are the Vedas from our sessions. We know what is Vedanta, what it contains. But we have to understand that to study Vedanta, what are the favorable and what are the challenges that one can face. So if you are going to study something, you should know what is the study about first. So we discussed what is the study about. The next you should know that what is needed for me to study, to be able to study this. That we have to understand. So the first point is challenges and favorable. So what are the challenging factors in learning Vedanta, and what are the favorable factors? So you can ask like when we ask, right? So what are those things, right? Then we will discuss what we know already about the creation. So because since Vedanta is the study of spiritual knowledge about creation and self, right? So first we have to discuss what we already know about the creation. About human life, what do we know? So those things we have to understand. So these things we will try to discuss, right? Let me have a check on time. Yeah. So what are the challenges and favorable conditions? Let's discuss. So if you remember from our earlier sessions, right, we know that Vedanta is the study of our existence, right, our true nature, like who we really are. We also learned that there are instructions from Paramatma on returning back to the creation, right? So Vedanta are the instructions of Paramatma how to return back, right? So it looks like pretty simple here, right? Since Vedanta contains a knowledge to return back to Paramatma. So learning or knowing Vedanta will help us in reaching back to Paramatma, right? So it's straightforward. But we are asking what is the challenge here? So let's understand this with the example from session one. So in session one, we discussed how parents take their children to fair, right? And how children get engrossed in the fair and all, right? So using that same example, let's understand what is the challenge that one can face while he wants to study Vedanta. So you know that parents provide instructions to children on reaching back home from the fair, right? Or exhibition. But what is the challenge concerning children returning back to their parents? So the child is enjoying the fair, right? And he does not want to return. The child has no reason to return back to parents from the exciting fair. So this is the challenge, right? The first challenge. If you want to bring your children back from the fair or exhibition, the first challenge is the children are not willing to come back. They want to uh, still enjoy the play, still enjoy the fair, right? So that's the first challenge that we usually face when we want to like ask our children to come back to home, right? So understand this, just like how children are enjoying the fair and not want to return from fair, similarly, we are enjoying this creation and do not want to return to Paramatma. So by this analogy, so this is the challenge that we face, right? So we also want to enjoy this creation and we do not want to return back to Paramatma. So that is one challenge. So other challenge is that we are like children, we are also engrossed in this creation. So the reason we don't want to go is because we're engrossed in this creation. So these are the couple of challenges that we will face. Now, what are the favorable conditions that one can cultivate or think of is so the this to study this knowledge or learn about it, you should have an inquiring mind about the nature of existence, right? You should have, like what you say, you have to inquire everything around yourself. So you have to think about the creation, you have to think about your own self, and you have to see who you are, how did you come to this existence, how this creation happened, for what purpose it happened. So all sorts of questions, right, concerning what you say, the creation. So if you want to ask and if you want to know the answer, you should be having an inquiring mind, right? And the other thing is, you should have a burning desire to not to be born again. So why I am saying that way is, since Vedas are the knowledge, Vedanta is the knowledge, it will help you, or say, come back to Paramatma, right? Return to Paramatma, right? So it means that you are not part of the creation. You reach the Paramatma, and you do not, and you are not anymore in the creation. So that burning desire should be there, that I should come out of this, what you say, creation, or come out of this fear or exhibition. So I just shared this because it's not like my opinion that I have shared this. It is few of the points that our sages also discussed. That's why I am sharing this. So when you say that an inquiring mind, so usually they say that you should have a Brahma Jigyasa. So the meaning is, the word is the Brahma Jigyasa. So you should be having that attitude of Jigyasa. Jigyasa means that inquiring mind to know everything. So what is happening? You should not settle. Okay, this is my thing. I know this is what I have to do. But you should also think about what is this creation and existence. So it's called as Brahma Jigyasa. So this burning desire that I am talking about, it's called as mumukshutvam. So the word is that. So wherein a person will have a burning desire to not to be born again. So he wants to return back to Paramatma. And then, so these are the things which are already discussed. So again, if you see the desire to stay in the creation and everything, right, and not want to return back, that is one challenge. But similarly, uh, one is also like wants to return. So when he wants to return, right, naturally he wants to get away from the creation, right? So that attitude also is called as vairagya. So these are the words. So one should have an attitude of vairagya. So he should be disinterested or dispassionate about the creation. Then only he can think about, okay, after this creation, I have to go back to Paramatma, right? So he should have this vairagya bhava. He should have an inquiring mind. It's called as Brahma Jigyasa, and the burning desire like mumukshuttam. So these are the things that he should have. So don't worry, I am here to guide, help and guide through these qualities. So there is nothing say wrong or right to know these things, because we have to understand that it is coming from Paramatma. So it is that direct knowledge that if not today, but tomorrow, not in this life or next lifetime, we have to know our own nature, right? So think about that in that way, right? So do not get overwhelmed that this is something that is not for me, right? So we will try to make it simpler and try to go through these individual, what you say, the qualities that we want to have to study Vedanta, right? So this is what I wanted to share. So I would like to pause here and try to see if anyone has the questions, right? So the forum is open. So because since we have concluded about the Vedas, right, and all that basic stuff about foundation stuff on Vedas, so I'm just asking if there are any questions. So if you may have, then you can please ask here. You can also comment in the WhatsApp group also, right? Yeah, if there are any questions, I'm willing to take. Yeah, so I think I got some message saying I feel fearful whenever I think about returning back. So actually, it should be the other way around. So when we discuss these things, right? So the fear should be to how to stay in this world, right? So everywhere there are challenges in this world. So we will discuss that. It is returning back home. Maybe it looks like it's fearful, but we are going, or we are going to our own nature, who we are. So when you go back to who you are, you don't feel that fear. You feel that disconnect, and you want to go there. So that is how uh, we have to, what you say, not think, but that is how this experience will take you through, right? So now we think that our existence is everything, and we are so much attached to it, and that's why when we say that we do not wish to be born and things like that, we get fearful. It is common, but thing is, if not today, some or the other day, uh, this this experience will come to everyone, because we have to reach back from where we have come, right? So that journey we have to complete. So, in future sessions, I will be talking about these things also. So, I will not jump directly into the knowledge of Vedanta, but I wish to explain what is Vairagya Bhava, what is Brahma Jigyasa, and Mumukshvatam, right? So, these things also I would discuss. And so that way, I think if we have any such fears, I hope that we can clear them off. So I have something interesting stories planned to help this understand. So yes, thanks for asking that. But yes, we do want to uh, go through that way. So the question is, will it align with present fast moving life? See, this knowledge is not something new, right? So this knowledge is existing from so many ages, not only present Kali Yuga. This knowledge is from Satyug, Treta Yuga, like Dwapar Yuga. This knowledge is existing. So do you think that the other yugas were very short paced? Think about it. Were there no wars? Were there no responsibilities? Right? Were there no commitments? Were there no desires in these yugas? So think about it. So there is nothing like it will it is for the fast life or a slow life, but it is generally yes. If your question is that whether we can adapt this to the fast moving life, then definitely this knowledge will help you, like to live a better life, to live a life. I The word I can say is being non-attached and living this life, but just talking through these words would not help. So I would definitely provide examples and stories and suggestions on how we have to cultivate this. What you say, this way to experience this life. So either we choose to be attached and perform our duties, or we can choose to perform our duties and be non-attached about it. So it is not something that I am saying, or it is not something that new, right? So it is all there in Bhagavad Gita and everything. So we have to perform our duties, being non-attached, without desires, and also not thinking that it is who I am doing the work. So these kind of what you say insights, right, will definitely help the individual. So it's not concerning how fast life is, but it's like the knowledge coming from Paramatma or the Lord Krishna. So this will all help us strive through these challenges in life and to cross this ocean called as they say samsara, right? So this will give one the strength to move ahead in life, right? So when you say spiritual knowledge, people don't want to join or don't want to listen through because they always equate it to money, right? So what will I get by studying Vedanta? So it's how will it help me in gaining the money? So spiritual knowledge is not that. Spiritual knowledge is your internal knowledge, like who you are. So when your foundation is strong, right? So nothing can harm you. So nothing is, so you will be ready to face all kinds of challenges. So that strong foundation will only come from a strong spiritual background. So if you have strong spiritual thoughts, right, about who you are, how you are connected to the Paramatma, why this creation has come into being, what is the purpose of this creation. So when you understand all these things, right, so you understand that you have so much information within you that anything outside you will be able to tackle, right? So this is essentially, you can say it's essentially to build your own personality spiritually, right? So there are so many, what you say, personality building sessions, right? So this is not such a session, but this is like, it will change your roots. So it will change, it will build you from your roots. It will make you a stronger person. So that's what is the intent that I got from knowing Vedanta, right? So to answer the question that whether we can adjust to this life, it is always uh, good to know, and be rooted with strong foundation. So it will definitely be applicable to any time. So this knowledge is not limited to one yuga or one time period, right? So this is eternal knowledge coming from an eternal being, right? So this is a sacred knowledge. So it is a, if you ask me, it is one should know this to lead a good life. And thanks for asking question. Yeah, we are 5 minutes. We have 5 more minutes if there is anything. Okay, if no questions, then again, if you want to pursue this study, right? So go through the sessions, prepare your notes. I have kept it in a question format only so that we do not miss on any points, right? So uh, try to do that way, and step by step we will try to understand about our existence and about our own self. So thank you so much for everyone joining the session. Have a good day.